In August 1965, Lee Kuan Yew said something controversial but very revealing about the American government. I think what he said over 60 years ago is still worth hearing again in 2026, so take a listen.
I want to be quite frank with you here. If the British withdraw, I'm prepared to go on with the Australians and the New Zealanders, but I'm not prepared to go on with the Americans.
Why not, Mr. Prime Minister? Why do you think America...
Well, can I put it this way? I think there are highly intelligent, well-meaning often people, and some of their leaders, like Kennedy, the late president, had signs of growing greatness, depth. But, you know, by and large, the administration lacks depth and judgment or wisdom, which comes out of an accumulation of knowledge of human beings and human situations over a long period of time. That's lacking. And it's not their fault. What have they got? 300-400 years of history, and they've become a nation just recently. You know, I'll tell you this. I've had only three experiences with the Americans. And they did not intend any harm in each one of them. But the tragedy was they did real harm. First, this is old stuff now. We caught an American CIA agent trying to subvert our intelligence special branch officer. Bribe him so that the special branch officer will feed the CIA, because the CIA wants to know what's happening. I mean, subverting a Singapore officer. The man might have succeeded, but I'm proud to say that the officer offered large sum of money and continuing sums of money. This was in 1960. Refused and reported the matter to his chief, who reported it to me. Man was caught, locked up. And it was on razor's edge whether we charged him in open court or not. No, let me explain this. When I told the American government, all right, we keep quiet, you take this man away, $100 million to the Singapore government for economic development. You know? No, listen to me. I didn't tell, you know, I never spoke to the Americans direct because, you know, they lack the finesse, and, you know, they may say, yes, hey, give it to you. Why not? Why should the Singapore government just give to you, to me, which would have ruined me? But through an intermediary, they offered me and my party $10 million. I mean, the insult, you know. I told them, keep it.
Now, let's fast forward to 60 years later, January 2026. So, the USA under Donald Trump has managed to remove the president of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. Following his arrest, the interim leader is Delcy, who had this to say.
If there's something that the Venezuelan people and this country have very clear, is that we will never again be slaves, is that we will never again be a colony of any empire of whatever kind.
Did you detect anything vile in what she said? Would you consider her saying that she does not want their nation colonized as a sign of not complying with the USA?
Mr. Trump has claimed the country's Vice President, Delcy Rodriguez, has agreed to comply, pressing her with a new threat today that if not, she could pay a bigger price than Maduro. It followed her defiant public comments.
Does complying with the USA mean that you should want or be willing to be colonized by another nation? If that is the case, then what is even happening here? What are we actually witnessing?
A US armada, says President Trump, is off the Venezuelan coast, the result of a months-long military build-up. It is now being used to impose an effective oil embargo on the country, and he says they're prepared to strike again if necessary.
Now, hang on a minute. I thought the USA was invading Venezuela because of the drug cartels there. Did I miss something?
Trump has threatened further strikes if necessary. He's made it clear one thing the US wants is oil.
We're going to take back the oil that, frankly, we should have taken back a long time ago. A lot of money is coming out of the ground. We're going to get reimbursed for all of that. We're going to get reimbursed for everything that we spend.
I thought the U.S. government wanted Maduro to stop endangering U.S. citizens with the drugs that he was trafficking into the U.S. Was I wrong?
Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves in the world, $17 trillion worth, enough to last more than 800 years. More than the likes of Saudi Arabia and Iran.
How did it shift from drugs to oil? It sure was a quick shift, wasn't it? Do you know what this makes me wonder about as a South African who loves her country and fellow citizens? If the USA, as requested by many South Africans, comes into South Africa and intervenes in South African matters, where will the US intervention actually stop? Will it stop at ending the so-called white genocide? Will it stop at arresting or punishing the ANC members? Or will it then move to taking South Africa's minerals just as it moved to taking Venezuela's oil? Guys, analyzing the USA's methods and motives requires us to move the veil over our eyes, to stop looking at matters in a one-dimensional view, to confront some uncomfortable truths. Yes, we don't like the ANC. Yes, we don't like BEE. Yes, we don't like the fact that our government has not taken the necessary steps in condemning the Kill the Boer song. But is bringing in Donald Trump and the USA into South Africa's issues the real solution to these issues? If yes, what is the cost of that solution? Will it be a net win or a net loss for the Republic of South Africa and her people? Please think long and think hard about that. And as you do, let's look at some of the collateral damage the people of Venezuela opened their 2026 to.
Well, the authorities in Venezuela say a number of people were killed during the military operation to seize Nicolas Maduro.
After U.S. airstrikes shook Venezuela 2 nights ago, the clear-up continues today. The Venezuelan government has yet to announce how many people were killed in the U.S. military action, but says soldiers and civilians are among the dead. Some residential areas were also reportedly hit.
Flares were coming in, and then came the explosions. We all ran. All our neighbours had to flee.
To be honest, I'm very scared. I feel a lot of fear everywhere inside. I'm afraid for my life. I'm afraid of what might happen.
You tell me if you still believe that this is all about protecting American citizens from drugs. You tell me if you think that all South Africans will be spared from similar consequences if we keep requesting Trump to intervene in our matters. Mind you, the consequences are not only experienced by the citizens of the country that is experiencing the heroic U.S. intervention. The U.S. citizens too bear the brunt in more ways than one. One way is through the soldiers who are sent out to execute the intervention.
We're sitting at dinner and this general is telling me about, I saw something really touching today. We had this female officer and she was killed. Her legs were blown off by an IED and her husband was there. You know, they've got 3 kids back in Virginia, but he held her hand as she died. This ultimate sacrifice for America. And I was like, what? You're like celebrating this? A girl got killed? A mother? I thought we fought wars to protect mothers and children. First of all, if you're sending girls to fight your wars, you're disgusting. Yeah. Because you're violating the most basic agreement there is, which is the man protects. And in exchange for that, the willingness to sacrifice his life, he gets to be revered as a man and sit at the head of the table and all the benefits of being a man, and there are many. But and if you're sending
will bear your children for
100%,
you, yeah.
If you're sending women to protect you, if there's a home invasion at your house at 3 a.m, and you're like, honey, I dealt with the last one, go defend us. I hope that she leaves you, and she will, by the way. Yes. So if you're sending women to defend you, it's not a civilization worth defending.
Another way is through the taxes lost by the ordinary American citizens. Taxes diverted from service delivery to military efforts.
Let me show you how much the United States spends on its military. Of all the money our Congress budgets to run our government on any given year, almost half of it goes to the military. Here you've got education, and there's diplomacy and health science, energy, environment. We've been deep in the spreadsheets and the data. Luckily, all of this stuff is pretty public and open to scrutiny, with the goal of visualizing all of this, trying to understand where the money goes, to understand why the US spends so much more than any other country on its military. And most important of all, to try to answer the question of whether all of this money actually makes us safer.
Almost all of our witnesses before the Armed Services Committee tell us that we are in the most dangerous global threat security since generations.
This is the Pentagon's budget for 2023. It's how they planned to spend money that year. The total number we got was $853 billion. That's more than the entire economy of Switzerland.
I liked Trump for standing up to the woke ideology in his country. I liked him for fighting against the immigration crisis that is faced by many nations across the world. I respected the US Army for their patriotism, their discipline and dedication. But none of these facts blind me from seeing the facts that are before me right now. What Donald Trump and the US government are doing in Venezuela has more to do with themselves and the people of Venezuela or the people of America. They expect us to shut our brains and simply believe that it's all about the drugs, all about protecting US citizens from the drug cartels. I say let's not forget that the CIA has been involved in the smuggling of drugs into America.
But there was more disturbing news in the fall of 1993 when a report revealed that the government itself may have been running drugs. The head of the DEA at the time, Robert Bonner, said that a ton of pure cocaine worth hundreds of millions of dollars had been smuggled into the United States. And he blamed the CIA, saying the agency had joined the Venezuelan National Guard in drug smuggling.
Let me understand what you're saying. A ton of cocaine was smuggled into the United States of America by the Venezuelan National Guard?
Well,
in cooperation with the CIA?
That's exactly what appears to have happened.
Bonner said he was the only one who could have approved transportation of illegal narcotics such as cocaine, and that this shipment had entered the country without his authorization.
Let me put it this way, Mike. If this has not been approved by DEA or an appropriate law enforcement authority in the United States, then it's illegal. It's called drug trafficking. It's called drug smuggling.
Former DEA agent Levine said that equally shocking was the fact that for more than 30 years, the federal government had protected some drug dealers.
As officers in the narcotic war, we saw the political choice made up close and personal.
One example, Levine said, was during the Nixon administration when he was about to bust a major source of heroin.
And I was stopped cold, because that source were our allies in the Vietnam War.
Levine said this was not an isolated incident, that it had happened many times in his 25-year career.
If it was a question of supporting people who supported our economic and political philosophies in other parts of the world, and they happen to be drug dealers, as most of them are, we supported them and we protected them. We protected them by looking the other way.
And the drug dealers had another ally in the war: money.
Let's not forget that they have experimented on their own people using LSD as a mind control substance.
The CIA was scared stiff the KGB was going to get all this LSD and come over and start dosing people. So we bought every drop of LSD in existence at that point.
The CIA has just authorized the purchase of 10 kilograms of pure LSD-25, enough to dose more than half the population of the United States.
They gave it to George White and let George start dosing people.
George Hunter White, a larger-than-life undercover federal narcotics agent. Unbeknownst to his supervisors, White also works for the CIA. His job, to conduct experiments for an operation called Midnight Climax.
George had a CIA safe house stocked with booze. George would sit behind this one-way mirror, drinking martinis, sitting on a portable toilet. If he had to take a leak, he didn't want to get up and leave.
White pays prostitutes to lure their clients to the agency's safe house.
Hookers who would bring these suckers back to the apartment and dose them with pure LSD-25.
This is where I have my effect, in the mind.
This is lysergic acid diethylamide, better known as acid. The powerful drug was first synthesized in 1938 in Switzerland. With a dose of mere micrograms, the mind becomes confused. Perception is distorted. Personal identity is called into question. The results can be euphoric bliss or deadly panic. White takes meticulous notes and files his reports to his CIA handlers.
So that was how LSD was introduced to this country.
Operation Midnight Climax is part of a larger top-secret CIA program called MK Ultra. The goal, learn how to control and even reprogram people's minds. The CIA believes LSD might hold the key. Over the next 10 years, the agency doses a cross-section of the American public. Everyone from unwitting housewives to soldiers to even criminals like gangster Whitey Bulger is tested.
You know, what the CIA really dreamed of was sort of like a drug you could give to someone, get them to commit all sorts of unspeakable acts, and they wake up the next day and they don't remember what they've done.
They were looking into brainwashing. They were looking into mind control. They were looking into how they could create what they called Manchurian candidates. They were trying to figure out if they could get people to go out and do things that they would ordinarily not do, like assassinations. It was the CIA that introduced LSD to the United States.
Let's not forget that most issues that are bad or evil on earth have something to do with America. They export their vile and wicked ways to the rest of the world, but who holds them accountable? No one.
I regard the United States as the most lawless and dangerous country in the world by far. You cannot believe how much misinformation we get every single day. Because I have advised more than 100 governments around the world, I have seen things with my own eyes. I've seen US CIA coups with my own eyes. Governments lie, but superpowers make super lies. And if you're running the largest war machine in the world, hey, you are going to lie all the time. The entire Iraq war was not because they thought there were weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction was the outcome of a focus group inside the Pentagon. How are we going to sell this war to the American people? Who made the decision 2 days ago that ATACMS can shoot deep inside Russia? Another brilliant move. We don't even know if the President of the United States is compos mentis right now. We have a deep state that takes these decisions, not a word of explanation to the American people. It's all lies. And I've seen it all through my life.
And please note that this does not mean that they have not offered a lot of good to the rest of the globe. This is simply saying that the US government has too many scandals waiting in their own house and they can't fix those. Yet they rush to pretend to fix the rest of the world's issues. They rush to Venezuela when they have the Epstein files waiting for them back home. Trump was supported by many people because they thought he was different. He said the right things, and yet, like a typical politician, he was willing to lie to his voters. The fact is, America is a problem in this world. They are not for global peace if it does not put America on top of everyone else. They will not help if it doesn't help them take from you. When they do what we agree with, let's agree with that. But when they do something horrible, let's disagree with it. If you think otherwise, please share your thoughts in the comments section below. But before you leave, check out this funny video.
Gentlemen, it has been a pleasure and an honor to meet you and your people. The U.S. government supports you in every possible way, ideologically, of course. However, we cannot offer any military aid at this time.
With all due respect, Ambassador, we need more than that. We are dealing with terrorism on a daily basis.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Warlords overrun villages.
Yes, that's regrettable.
Rapes, tortures, all manner of human atrocities.
That's really sad. But the U.S. military is simply spread too thin. We can't afford another intervention at this time.
But what we could use your help with, really, is protecting our vulnerable, plentiful, and newly discovered oil reserves.
Oil? Excuse me 1 second. Operation Golden Eagle is a go. Welcome to democracy.
Funny, yes, but is it just funny or funny and factual? Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Katlego. This is Citizen Concerned. And until next time, beware of the comrades.